college park. And I was like, what are we about to talk about every day? Because I ain't got it. You're looking for something from my brain. I don't think I'm gonna have it every day. Now, when we were long distance, it was extremely crucial that we actually developed the habit. She already had it. I needed to develop it in a way that was sustainable, that was realistic. Also, with her being on the other side of the country, there's a 3-hour time gap. So there was also an element when it was 9 p.m. for her and she's in for the night, she's winding down, and it's midnight for me. I am struggling to keep my eyelashes on my face and my eyelids open.
Eyelashes on your face?
And we still need to talk for the day. Or don't let it be late in Seattle, because when it's late for her, it's an ungodly hour for me. So there were some times.
I would just text you and be like, hey, I made it home.
And that was all that we could muster. But it was an intentional muster. Because I stayed up until 3 in the morning some days to make sure that she made it home. And then there were other days when I was actually on duty because I was an RA. So I was just up late by happenstance of my employment. But when I tell you intentional communication changes the game, you have to want to communicate.
I remember exactly where I was on campus. I was on North Campus, right by the Performing Arts Center, and I was with one of my line sisters, and I was like, I'm gonna tell him that he gonna talk to me every day. He gonna hear this mouth every day.
And I remember the first and the second time that we was in her apartment and we were talking through our communication styles. This is before going long distance, but I was like, yo, this is wild. Now, with being long distance, there's a key element, 2 key elements actually, trust and patience.
We're on point number 2.
Lesson number 2 is a package deal. Trust and patience go hand in hand with developing a thriving long distance relationship. Trust is the bedrock of anybody's relationship, whether it be romantic, business, family, platonic. There ain't no trust. Things can get real rocky, real shaky. Along with trust, there is patience. Juice was actually patient with me with learning how to communicate more often.
I sure was. Hallelujah.
Without that patience, if she was just like, he ain't gonna talk to me every day, you know what? Bump it. It's raps. Delete my number from your phone, fam. Deuces. Then we wouldn't be here today.
I was like, please don't keep going. Wrap it up.
But she was patient with me. I was also patient with her, where although it was not in my habit, my pattern of existence to want to communicate daily, I still had a desire to meet her needs, to meet her emotional needs, to meet her psychological need, to meet that need for connection. Going back to trust. What did trust mean for you dating long distance?
It meant like being open and honest with each other about like what we were experiencing day to day, how we were feeling, even if like the feelings weren't good. But I think that during our long distance, what are we gonna call it? Season? Mm-hmm. During our long distance season, like we had dated like in person, like on campus for about a year, but getting to know your heart and getting to know your intentions and your values. And even though like we weren't necessarily in person, to be able to have like physical connection, like knowing that I was secure, we were secure in our relationship, even though we weren't there like in person with each other. Yeah, I think the trust just came with like knowing like you weren't putting yourself in situations or places that would have me questioning like, so what time did you leave? Or like, where'd you go? And like, that was never an issue. And then like, similarly, like I was always going out with the same girlfriends in Seattle. And I wouldn't say I was like protective over you per se. Like one of my friends recently was like, summer 2017, you didn't let any of us see him. But it wasn't that. It was just like we only had like 5 days together. So I'm like, I'm gonna selfishly use all that time with him. Yeah, I think it was just like knowing your intentions, knowing your values, knowing your commitments. It was just nice to know that you like weren't putting yourself in situations that would be compromising. And I felt an emotional and psychological security in us being like thousands of miles away. Mm-hmm. I think the patience piece also comes with like, it wasn't all like rainbows and unicorns. Like there were some days where you would call and be like, hey, how you doing? How's your day? It was good. How was yours? It was fine. Same old. Talked to all these candidates and had a whole bunch of meetings and went to Orange Theory, came home, Yeah, it is 11 o'clock at night here. I'm struggling to keep my eyes open. What are your 3 highlights and 3 lowlights of the day? Runs them up. Hello? Baby still there? Alright, just so good, but no, I love you. Alright, love you too. Bye-bye. Like that's literally how it was some nights, but it was, and like there's nothing exciting to write home about with that conversation, but it's, having patience and trusting the process of long distance while also aligning on a goal or end time frame so that we weren't like long distance for 4, 5, 6 years with no end in sight. So.
Mm-hmm. Lesson number 3, dating long distance is possible. I had a nickel for every time somebody said, well, no, I can never do that. No, that's crazy. No, I ain't doing no long distance. That ain't for me. Good on you. Y'all got it. But nah, I can't do that. No.
If you love the person.
If you want to, you will.
Yeah.
That's if you don't want to, okay. That's all fine and good. Just understand it is possible. Also, with all of this modern day technology, all this FaceTime, text messaging, phone calls.
The goddamn TikTok and
the TikTok, social medias, and the Facebook.
Snapchat, you forgot Snapchat.
That was in high school.
Oh, okay.
We let Snapchat be where it be. Mm-hmm. The amount of ways to stay connected, it makes life a lot easier than when you could only take a horse and buggy hundreds of miles just to contact somebody. Before phones, before even a working postage service. We got too much technology not to be connected nowadays. Tech aside, wanting to be connected to another human being takes intentional action, whether you are in person or 3,000 miles away. Without cultivating that connection, y'all could be in the exact same room and still feel miles apart emotionally. The physical is important, but the trust, the emotional, psychological security, the sheer desire to want to be there for someone, that is what truly makes a relationship whole. Physical, important. The emotional, psychological, and spiritual connection is what can sustain physical distance.
When you mentioned like the physical piece, it also made me think back to the 5 love languages. And before we started dating long distance, physical touch was one of my top ones. But I remember I took it again, like probably in like 2018 or 2019. And words of affirmation and quality time became my top 2. Retaking the 5 love languages assessment and understanding like, okay, if acts of service is now my partner's top love language. What can I do in a long distance relationship? Like maybe it's a surprise or maybe it's like a regular thing. I saw one of my friends, her partner would send her fresh flowers every 2 weeks because her top love language was gifts. And that was just like a routine thing where, you know, it'd be no different than if they were living together in the same house. So yeah, like it does require a mutual belief that y'all are going to not just make it through long distance, but actually growing through the process and knowing that there are so many fundamental values that you all will be able to build in the process that will be beneficial not just during your long distance season, but beyond that. So yeah, I think like if one of us was like, yeah, it's possible, and the other one's like, man, I'm just trying to see. Because, you know, I like her and all that, but shoot, early 20s, I don't know. Like, that easily could have been your posture or mine, and it would not have worked. It would not have worked if only one of us was on board and the other one was just doing it to appease the other. So it does require both people being on the same page and being like, we're going to stay positive. We're going to believe that this is possible, and we're also going to just know that this will be a valuable stage in our relationship long term.